Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Friday edition of Take 5. Hope you're having a great day so far today. This week on Take 5, we've been talking about Holy Week. These are the things that Jesus did and said right before His death. These things were absolutely important and they're absolutely necessary for us to understand because these are things that He wanted His disciples and us to know. And it would do us good to know the things that our Lord endured. Now today is Good Friday. And it's a weird name, Good Friday, because it wasn't a Good Friday for Him. It was the worst kind of Friday that there could have ever been. After the physical and emotional and spiritual agony that Jesus went through while praying in the Garden of Gethsemane on Thursday night, and after being betrayed by Judas, and then after being arrested by 600 armed men with swords and clubs, that was a little overkill, don't you think? He was then taken to the palace of the high priest. Annas, the leader of the Sanhedrin, Caiaphas, the high priest, the scribes, the elders, and all the chief priests were there. The whole kit and caboodle showed up for this. And they sought for false witnesses to testify against Jesus, but they couldn't keep their story straight. Finally, two witnesses came forward and they perverted Jesus on words when He said, "Destroy this temple and in 3 days I'll raise it again." They perverted His own words and used that as a method of pushing Him towards crucifixion. Every person that passed by Him had something to say, some accusation to bring on Jesus there in the palace of the high priest. They spat on His face, they blindfolded Him, they hit Him with their fists, and then demanded of Him that He would prophesy. If you're really a prophet, tell us who it was that hit you. They then bound Him and led Him away to Pilate, who was known as the most violent Roman procurator that ever had existed. Pilate questioned them and saw no reason to crucify Him. And when he found out that King Herod was in town, he was king of Galilee, he said, well, let's just send Jesus to him. After all, Jesus is a Galilean, so they sent Jesus to Herod. When He stood before Herod, Herod did nothing but mock Him for some time and then sent Him back to Pilate saying, I don't have anything to do with this man. Pilate questions Jesus again and says, I've got the power to set you free. Jesus responded, you would have no power at all if it had been given you by God. So Pilate asked the people, it's our custom to release a prisoner to you. Do you want us to release to you Barabbas the mercenary or Jesus that calls himself the Messiah? And of course, the crowd chose Barabbas and they shouted with a thunderous cry, "Crucify him." Pilate sent him away to be whipped. They carried Jesus to the whipping post, and if he had anything on his back at all in the way of clothes, that would have been stripped off of him. He would have been tied around the whipping post, such as this, and then he would have been given 39 lashes with a cat of nine tails. The flares in that whip had pieces of metal and bone and rock and glass and anything that they could find to tie in there. And when they would strike so that those sharp objects would catch the skin and then pull. And 39 lashes he received because 40 would have been inhumane. It's quite possible when you read some of the Psalms that you can see a picture of Jesus being partially disemboweled right there at the whipping post. Then he's turned over to 200 soldiers in a common hall called Praetorium, where they stripped him completely naked, placed a scarlet robe on him, fashioned a crown of thorns, pressed it into his head, and placed a flimsy reed in his hand, something like a cattail, and then bowed before him in mockery. They spat on him, they hit him in the head, they stripped him completely naked again, and then made him carry his own cross out to Golgotha. At 9 o'clock on Friday morning, they crucified him between two thieves. At the foot of the cross, they gambled for his clothes. They sat and eyed him eerily. At 12 o'clock, the sun hid its face and refused to shine, and the Bible said the whole land was covered in darkness. Many passerbyers accused him and reviled him with their words and questioned his identity, saying things like, if he was really the Son of God, he would save himself. He grew thirsty, and when he thirsted, they offered him vinegar mixed with gall on a sponge. Around 2 p.m., Jesus cried out, "My God, why have you forsaken me?" One of the Messianic Psalms records the way Jesus felt. He said, "My strength is gone. It's poured out like water on the ground. My bones have separated. My courage is gone. My mouth is as dry as a piece of baked pottery. My tongue sticks to the roof of my mouth. You, O God, have left me dying in the dust. The dogs are all around me. A pack of evil people has trapped me. They've pierced my hands and my feet. I can see each one of my bones. My enemies are eyeing me. They divide my clothes and throw lots for my garments. Lord, don't leave me. You are my strength. My God, why have you forsaken me?" 6 hours he hung there in agony, writhing up and down on the cross, gasping for breath until he finally said, "It's finished." And he bowed his head and he gave up the spirit and he died. And oh, what a powerful death he died. He died until the earth got nervous and shook. He died until the graves of righteous people broke open. He died until the centurion that was standing there, standing guard, was so amazed that he shouted, "Surely this man was the Son of God." He died until the veil in the temple was rent from the top to the bottom. He died until law gave way to grace and the old covenant was fulfilled and replaced by the new covenant. The Son of God, the King of glory, the darling of heaven, the rose of Sharon, the lily of the valley, the brightening morning star, our Prince of Peace, hung his head and he died. He died for them. He died for you. He died for me. He died for the world. All of these are the events of that Good Friday. But take heart, friend, Sunday is coming.